taking three.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. And today we are going to take a look at a battle in my Nuremberg. Yes, and you'll notice that I am divisioned up with Hybrid today as well, who is in the Yashan. That is the Tier 6 Chinese premium destroyer. I don't have one myself, but I do understand that is very similar to the Gremyashki in terms of playstyle. But anyway, we are looking at the Nuremberg, but more importantly, right, we're looking at the role of supporting your allies. Just playing that support role here is what we're going to look at in today's battle. And the Nuremberg is really a great ship to fulfill this role, right? I mean, there are definitely times in the Nuremberg where, you know, you can just rock out and completely own face. I mean, I've done it, especially in the Konigsberg as well, at the Tier 5. But ideally, this is a great, you know, just basic support cruiser. It's a nice light cruiser to have in and amongst some of your heavier ships, just consistently putting shots down range. And that's what we're going to see in this battle. Now, because it's a support role that I'm going to be taking on in this battle, and it didn't actually, I mean, just, you know, to throw it out there, I didn't come into this battle expecting to play in the support role, right? Obviously, you know, you come into the battle and you just sort of judge the situation as it unfolds. So right now, heading over to the west, and right now it does look like, well, I'm going to be fairly aggressive. But anyway, we'll see how that progresses. Now, to get back to the supporting role, you know, in this role, you can definitely count on getting a whole lot of points, right? A whole lot of damage done. In the Nuremberg, maybe not so much, depending on the matchmaking and, you know, what sort of ships you come up against and how lucky you get and whatnot. But, you know, where I'm getting at is in this battle, I do right about middle of the pack, which is basically where I would expect to end up when I'm playing a Nuremberg in this supporting role. I would expect to end up sort of in the middle of the pack like that. It makes sense, and yeah, just what I find as well when I play this ship. So you can see over here on the west, there's not a whole lot of allies over here with us, right? It's basically myself and Hybrid. We both came over here. Obviously, he's out in front of me, and he's you know, spotting ships for me. And then once something maybe comes into my range, or it looks, you know, pretty juicy, pretty easy for the taking, then I'll start opening up, because as of right now, not spotted, and I'm not looking to change that. We don't need to suddenly become spotted, right? But then suddenly here comes enemy destroyer, and Minakaze, so it looks like it's pretty good chances here of actually getting something, maybe landing some shots on that guy. So we'll take a few off, and again, I'm still not spotted, so this is pretty good. Our allies. Yeah, so you can see a lot of them are still in the base. Some of them have moved up on the east side, so kudos to those players. But you do notice that we do have allies pushing up through the channel. Yes, there's a destroyer and a cruiser going up there. So interesting play. We'll see how that works out. We'll have to keep an eye on the mini-map for that one. But in the meantime, you can see that myself and Hybrid are starting to, well, at least I'm starting to push up a little closer, right? Edging ever so much closer to being able to fire effectively here on some enemy ships. And Hybrid is doing sort of the same thing. He's kind of pushing them back with his torpedoes. And this is what we're trying to do to sort of corral the enemy. If the two of us can do it, then that would be amazing. But we do have another allied cruiser, you'll notice, coming over here on the west to help us out. Now, this allied cruiser luckily decided not to go up the middle channel, and instead turned over to the west, and he's now approaching Hybrid and I. And he's going to start providing us some support, which is great, because you'll notice we do have a battleship off in the distance, right? Now, the battleship hasn't spotted me, but this is going to obviously be an issue for us, right? It might even prevent us from pushing too much further up here. Maybe prevent us from getting in the cap. So we'll need to keep an eye on that guy. There we go, I'm spotted. So obviously we know enemy destroyers around here somewhere, right? We see an enemy Cleveland off in the distance. I immediately queue up my armor piercing, because these Nurembergs can destroy enemy Clevelands. It is ridiculous. With armor piercing, if the Cleveland decides to drive in a straight line, even if you don't get any citadels, you are still going to do a whole bunch of damage. So you can see I managed to turn at the last second there and avoid the incoming shots from the enemy Fuso. Those, obviously, I knew they were incoming because I got spotted, right? And the Fuso's right there, so obviously he's going to take a shot off at me. So I get really lucky and avoid those shots. There's the enemy destroyer that has been spotting us. Now I still have armor piercing loaded up. Yeah, I kind of wanted to save the armor piercing in the barrels so that I could continue to fire on the Cleveland. But I mean, I'm coming around this island right now as well, so I wanted to wait and see what targets would present themselves as I'm coming around, and you can kind of, guess as I'm coming around, yeah, it's the enemy destroyer. So we're going to queue up our high explosive now. We're going to let these enemy ships continue to try and take shots off at some of the other ally ships we have around. I say that with a grain of salt, obviously, because the only other ally ship we have around would be Hybrid. Yeah, he's up there like a boss, in those islands, really distracting the enemies right now. They're mostly focused on trying to take him out, and they're not focused on shooting back at me, which is great. It's giving me the opportunity to try and land some shots on these guys, maybe set a few fires, but I'm not in a great position to get this done, and my aim on a few of the shots there wasn't too fantastic, so I don't actually accomplish any of that. I'm no longer spotted, which is great, and I'm circling back around. My position here isn't fantastic to really get a whole lot of shots down range, but it is a good position to take cover, right? I've basically got this channel that I can shoot through, and on the other side I've got land masses, so it doesn't matter what side I decide to take, I will be able to get some sort of cover if I play it right. But I don't really like this position because a lot of the allied ships, because you'll notice, I mean, my allies who went up through the channel, right, they're now capping the enemy base. Even though it's not going as well as maybe it could, they are still capping the base. So some of these enemies are turning around to go defend their base. Same thing is happening on the east, right? We have a few more ships over there on the east, so they're doing a decent job of of pushing up. But over here on the west, it's still myself and Hybrid, and it's still, up to us to hold back these ships. And we are getting really lucky. I mean, they did just take out that allied destroyer who was capping the enemy base, but we got really lucky because you'll see these enemy ships are all on their way back to the enemy base. So this gives Hybrid and I an excellent opportunity to start pushing forward, right? Really push forward here aggressively. It was in a few different war movies and whatnot, where you just make a bunch of noise and you make the enemy think that there's a whole lot more of you than there really are. That's kind of what we're trying to get done here. So right now they do see me. They don't necessarily see Hybrid, but maybe they might think there's a few other ships behind me, or maybe, if we can just take out an enemy ship really quick, they might think twice before pushing down here. But for the most part, we're still getting lucky, and the enemies are still driving towards their base, right? Enemy destroyer pops up once again. We need to get that enemy destroyer gone. He's really the big thing that's preventing us right now from going forward. We can see him. He just repaired. We saw that his engines were out, so hopefully if those land, maybe catch him on fire. At least that fire is going to burn. But nope, they all miss. Over there on the east, my allies are still, working their way up. It's slow going, but they're doing it right. They're keeping at it. They're pushing the enemy back slowly but surely, which is great. And then over here on the west, we still have Hybrid and myself, just duking it out, playing it safe against these enemy ships, right? The idea here is to harass them. It's not to take them out and kill them, because I'm in a Nuremberg and we've got Hybrid in the Ashan. These two ships we're not going to be able to get in close and take out this Fuso, because that's what it's going to take out the Fuso, right? I'm going to have to get in close. He's going to spot me. I mean, he spots me right now. Hybrid is going to have to get in even closer to launch off torpedoes, so it's just not really going to work out. So you can see Hybrid disengaged. He went in behind an island to break some cover, so I'm out here in front, so I'm just going to start taking evasive maneuvers here against the Fuso and try and put some shots back into him, hopefully keep him on fire. But ideally as well, I'd like to no longer be spotted. That would be great, because I don't want the Fuso. I was really afraid of the Fuso getting a lucky shot in on me and maybe hitting a few citadels, because that can definitely happen in your Nuremberg and your Königsberg. I mean, if you've played those two cruisers enough, you know that if that happens, 2 to 3 citadels and 1 salvo is not out of the question, and probably about 85% of your health will go with it. So that would suck. So we've got Hybrid up front again. He's taking the lead here, so I'm going to start turning in to move up quickly behind him, help support him. I'm no longer spotted. I do have the Fuso in my sight, so I'm just picking a shot carefully here before I actually take it, because I know that I'm going to be spotted. There we go. Shots are out, and I'm spotted. But this is okay, because if I can kind of remain, sort of bow on to the Fuso here, dodge his shots, and I can fire off all 3 of my turrets, this might work out for me. Maybe. We can see Hybrid did manage to avoid the enemy torpedoes. We've got another enemy destroyer coming up here, so this is a Farragut. So now immediately no longer concerned with the Fuso, other than, you know, trying to make sure I'm not giving a good broadside to that Fuso. I need to start firing it on this Farragut. I have to support Hybrid here. We need to get the Farragut gone. The whole hope and the whole hope here, I was going to say the whole hope and prayer, but the whole hope here is, you know, to get this Farragut gone, keep Hybrid alive so that we can continue to do this kind of, you know, slight push off of these enemies. And you'll notice there quickly, you might have saw some torpedoes on the way for the Fuso. Those were torpedoes that Hybrid managed to get off towards the Fuso, so excellent shot there by Hybrid, because you can see, I mean, the torpedoes definitely aren't going to hit the Fuso because they run out of range, but what they do is they scare the Fuso so that the Fuso continues along its course of trying to get out of this whole situation, right? In the meantime, we were able to take out the Farragut. There he goes, he's gone. Fantastic. So this is an excellent opportunity, you know, to get in behind some cover like I'm doing now, trying not to ground myself as well, or bottom out here, but just to take a look around, see where we're at. So over on the east, we do see that my allies more or less have done it. They've broken the enemy resistance over there, and they're all now working their way up to get closer and position themselves into the enemy base. The enemy ships that are remaining, we do have most of them corralled, right? We do have this Cleveland off in the port bow here, who is firing at us, but we still have this Fuso who's really close to me right now, so I'm going to start firing it on the Fuso. The remaining enemy ships are basically conglomerated into the enemy base, with the exception of, you'll notice we are being capped right now, so there is obviously an enemy ship in our base that pushed down through the channel is in our base, right? So I'm immediately going to turn around to try and deal with this guy. That is my plan. I'm going to continue to take shots off this Cleveland while I'm getting myself into position over there. Basically, I'm just going to forget about the Fuso. But it's then at this point in time, right, talking to Hybrid, he's saying, no, you know, just stay where you are, I'm going to go back to base and I'm going to deal with it. Because we can see it's an enemy destroyer, and frankly, the enemy destroyer is within my range, so why not take a few shots off at him? I only have to destroy him, right? I don't actually have to go over there and cap the base back or whatever, so there's no real need for me now to actually go into the base, especially with me knowing that Hybrid is going to go in there and take care of it. Hybrid's a great player, so, you know, obviously I trust him to go in there, be able to take care of the situation. I'm going to continue my push because, you know, he and I were discussing it in TeamSpeak there. We really didn't want to lose the momentum that we had over here. I mean, we couldn't believe that our two ships were able to stop the enemy advance. Well, not necessarily even stop the enemy advance, right? That takes away from the players over there in the east, because the players over in the east did a good job. They didn't do too bad at all. In fact, you can see we're about to take out this Atlanta. Sure, we paid for it with our destroyer, but the Atlanta's gone, so that's great. But it was really a surprise to Hybrid and I that the two of us were able to survive over here on the west. And you can see, bringing this back to the cruiser support role, right? I was just playing in support of the destroyer, right? It wasn't any one ship that was sort of on the side here. It was basically a cruiser and destroyer team, a competent cruiser and destroyer team over on the west, Hybrid, myself. And because we were able to keep up the pressure but play it fairly safe, I mean, I haven't even taken a whole lot of damage as of yet, which is fantastic. We were able to, you know, keep that momentum up and really push these enemies back and sort of corral them with the help, obviously, of the people over there in the east, right? If it wasn't for the people over there in the east and actually being able to hold the side, win the side, push into the enemy base, what we would have done over here on the west would have been completely useless. Anyway, we see a friendly destroyer in there at the Fuso, basically point blank range on the Fuso, so it gets a few torpedo hits on the Fuso, so fantastic. And you can see the Fuso's basically almost gone now, right? I've got him on fire, so maybe a few more hits here and I might actually get the kill on this one. That wouldn't be too bad. I still actually did manage to get a kill on the Farragut, so that was pretty great as well. But you can see the damage counter, right? I didn't do a whole lot of damage. I wasn't in this to, you know, just, well, the cards weren't played for me to actually do a whole bunch of damage to enemy ships. I was basically, you know, just being there at the time, constantly putting shots down range at the enemies to let them know that they're not going to be able to proceed unopposed, basically, down that west side. Now, even though all of that is said, right, we still do have the Cleveland. I mean, that Cleveland managed to sneak around us. We can see him on the minimap now, but basically it doesn't matter. I mean, he's basically kind of out of the game now. It is a Cleveland. He can get himself over here and start contesting his base if he wanted to. But, you know, not a big concern for us at this time. Fuzo's gone. I did manage to get the kill on him, so that was pretty great. Probably one of the fires I set to him or something just burnt him down. We do have the Cleveland off in the distance. I'm firing high explosive off at him. I really should have been switching over to the armor piercing here, or at least I was slow on the armor piercing shot anyway. But again, doesn't really matter. We need to watch out for some friendly torpedoes though. Luckily they run out of range before they actually get me, so that was pretty good. Wasn't really concerned anyway. I mean, I saw them and I was able to avoid them, so that's not too bad at all. Continue to put shots in on the Cleveland, and now it's just a matter really of making sure that we can cap out the enemy base. Now what Hybrid was doing during all of this was obviously getting into our base and securing it. He got down there, managed to take out the enemy destroyer that was capping our base, so fantastic, good job by Hybrid. And again, bringing it back to the whole cruiser support and the role that a cruiser can take, this support role that a cruiser can take, and how effective it can be, right? I mean, you might not be the top of the team, you might not get the most damage done, but it doesn't. At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. I get a lot more gratification out of teamwork and the victory and how that victory was achieved, rather than knowing, oh, I got 100,000 damage this battle. Oh, look at me, right? It's not that's not so great for me. I mean, I do enjoy getting the high damage numbers. It's great because it just gives you more money and experience, and it really helps when you're grinding out ships and whatnot. But in the Nuremberg, this is an elited out ship. I kept this ship when I was grinding through the German line, but I'm playing her for fun. At this point in time, I'm not trying to play her as much as possible and grind out as much experience on her as possible. I'm just playing her for fun, so it's nice to be able to just play the ship in different ways than maybe you normally would, or maybe you would be inclined to play thinking that you're trying to get as much damage and experience as possible. Anyway, battle is over. And it was a great battle in my opinion. We got a bit of experience, a bit of credits here. I did manage to get 2 kills, but we saw it. I mean, basically just finished off 2 enemies, right? Set a few fires, we got an assist base capture. Here we go, you can see, right middle of the pack. Same thing for Hybrid as well. But it's no surprise, I mean, given the way that, the battle unfolded over there in the west for us. So we, again, did a bit of damage, but experience and money is what we walk away with. And more importantly, I thought that was a great battle. Really shows off, different roles or different support roles that cruisers can take, and really the flexibility here of a Nuremberg and how well she fits into this support role. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you enjoy it. As always, leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.